also noticed with a lot of guys that once they megadose the Masteron, let's say over 500, 700, 1,000 milligrams a week, that it seems to inhibit further muscle growth. And in other individuals, it doesn't seem to be the case. Now I want to see blood work of all those race horses and race camels.
Yeah, I know.
They're
right?
pretty heavy on the boldenone. I've helped some people in Dubai and in Switzerland for protocols for horses, because I made videos about boldenone, and then I got calls like, hey, you want to do a consultation about boldenone? And it's actually quite interesting what they do, but they combined it with anti-inflammatory drugs, prednisone, and just to make the horses race faster and the camels race faster. And I really wonder what their blood work would look like, but they typically don't do blood work for these.
Or they're not going to share it. Yeah. What kind of doses would be used in a horse?
Not much, like 150 milligrams every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They just respond more robustly than we do. Right. That's
and it seems that they don't get HPTA downregulation either. But of course, they load them up with all these weird other compounds, who knows? Like injectable GW1516 has been available for the cattle for years, and then suddenly humans, it became popular for humans, probably due to Tony Huge. He's like, the oral bioavailability is low, let's put it in solution. But it has been available for cattle or for horses and camels for a very long time already. If you go to the horse and camel supply shops, you can find all kinds of weird injectables
that's
that they
cool.
use in races. Yeah.
Very cool.
I would like a horse like that. Run through the street.
Cool. What else you want to talk about?
So with this Masteron, right? So it acts as a selective estrogen receptor modulator. And even though it might block the estrogen beta receptor, does that also mean that it could potentially, like we know that it's anti-prolific in breast cancer, right? But does that also mean that it could potentially be anti-prolific in skeletal muscle? Because again, through the bro lore, a lot of people start getting flatter. This could be the renin angiotensin aldosterone system modulation.
Yeah, through estrogen.
I also noticed with a lot of guys that once they megadose the Masteron, let's say over 500, 700, 1,000 milligrams a week, that it seems to inhibit further muscle growth. And in other individuals, it doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a ton of different things, right? Masteron causes some loss of, minerals and electrolytes and things as well. That could, any of these things, loss of any fluid inside the muscle is going to cause it to not be anabolic. Right. I mean, that's the thing is we don't, and I know you're aware of this, they never really looked at Masteron in men or in athletes, or it was only really used for women with cancer. So a lot of the data is missing.
No,
even
for
if you
sure.
search, that's the problem is they literally left this stuff on the table in the 70s and never went back.
If you type in Masteron on PubMed, you get 20 studies, 25?
Yeah, at most. And most are blocked.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you can always find them on Science Hub and if you know some people who go through the peer review process. Like a friend of mine, he was still going for his PhD in nutrition, so he had access to all the peer review studies that were being published. And he also told me that hundreds of studies get retracted every year.
All the time, When
they
a lot
get
of
published,
things
and then 6 months later, like, wait a minute, this is shit. And they retract it. But usually people already make their conclusions based on studies that are being retracted afterwards.
Yeah. Well, because how many people really stay on top of that stuff, right? You see it written down and you just assume it's true and you move on from it. And a lot of things don't get published either, right? Depends on who owns the rights to it. I've done stuff with pharmaceutical companies that we work with some of these chemicals and they will never be published. They're proprietary. The rights are owned by these companies. Right? They're not going to publish these, the same with trying to find stuff on, Parabolin, from Magma. That stuff's not around.
No.
They didn't.
They discontinued it. I think the data is already lost to the shredder, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wouldn't know where to find it. I mean, you have to go to friends and basically knock on the door and say, hey guys, can I go through your archives? And then even then, if you can get it, I mean, how old is this data? How relevant?
Yeah, it's not relevant. And if you saw some of the studies, what they considered ethical back then would not be considered. They were using it on women and pregnant women and all sorts of stuff that you would never consider nowadays.
No,
right?
You would never do.
They're doing with nandrolone as well.
Yeah, nandrolone as well. Yeah, it's some legit. What was his name? The old steroid guru, like one of the first ones.
Who, Duquesne?
Yeah, it's like that kind of level of insanity when it comes to women, because he would do all kinds of weird practices on women as well back in the day. and they would just let him. But it's when you think about it, like, oh,
would not happen today.
No, it would not happen. So what I find is funny that, of course, we're all online trying to still piece it together, but it seems that it's I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think that we're going to come to this grand solution and grand understanding of anabolic androgenic steroids simply because there's no interest from the medical community to really do the studies that we would like to have in the fitness community. Like, I would like to see how primobolan affects the brain, for example. Right? I get great results.
They most likely won't ever they won't look at it.
No. Right.
Or if it's been studied and they retract the data, like you said. It'll say data not available.
Right. So the weird thing is, like with boldenone, you can find a lot of kidney toxicity issues. But when you start looking for the same data on primobolan or other anabolic androgenic steroids, it's not there.
Nope.
So you would think, oh, wait a minute, that means primobolan is safe. Let's just make a dose primobolan instead of boldenone. But it's
we don't know.
The absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence.
No, and no one knows for sure. And that's the thing is, we don't, like you said, there's not a ton of research. So like I'll have to spend time all over the place because no one company's doing anything with any of these drugs, right?
No. Bayer still has primobolan FDA approved, but I don't think they're doing any additional research. They just have limited research for how primobolan is used. I remember I translated the insert from Turkish to English.
Yep.
I had two guys that helped me with that. And then you see the medical application is actually quite limited. But it's the same with the medical insert for parabolan, which was in French, also had it translated. And the dosing protocol is exactly the same. It's 75 milligrams every 15 days for 3 months, or for 3 injections, and then once a month for another 3 injections. Done.
Yeah, you took that for parabolan, right? It was front loaded.
Yeah.
And then but it equated basically to 50 milligrams every 10 days, right? If you remove the
every 15 days, 50 milligrams net trembolone. Yeah.
Yep, which is interesting because the bodybuilding community, at least in the United States, outside of more hardcore circles, perhaps, everyone's doing 35 milligrams of trembolone now, right? Which every week, which equates the same as the parabolan dosing, right? 35 milligrams every 7 is about 50 every 10.
Pretty much. Yeah, pretty much.
Which now we've aligned back with what Negma was doing with the original stuff.
Finally.
So they were pretty much onto something back then instead of the days of doing 100 milligrams a day.
Yeah, I mean, I recently made a video about how to, what all the medical dosages were, right? I figured it out for all the things that at one point in time were FDA approved, and including for animals, for boldenone, for example. And then you can actually make pretty hefty steroid cycles with the medical dosages, especially with anadrol. That's like 500 milligrams per day if you're 100 kilos.
Exactly. Yeah, by weight. Yeah.
Yeah, by weight. Yeah, that's the weird thing. Like, some of them are dosed very, very low, and some of them are dosed incredibly high.
Right? Like Winstrol's dosed very low, right? Because they'll use for angioedema. But other ones, nandrolone, the medical dosing is not far off from what you and I would use.
No, that's about 200 milligrams a week.
Puts me at 400. For a 200-pound man, it puts you about 400 milligrams.
Right. Yeah.
Which is pretty much what most guys would use.
Right. Yeah, I would prefer a little bit lower because the water retention and the cosmetic.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying, but that's how they dosed it.